Core competencies of global leaders. Intercultural competence. Introduction. In a world marked by globalization, mobility, and digital connectivity, global leaders are increasingly required to operate across diverse cultural, linguistic, and geopolitical environments. This new paradigm demands more than technical proficiency or traditional leadership skills. One of the most critical core competencies is intercultural competence, the ability to effectively and appropriately interact with people from different cultural backgrounds. This essay explores the meaning, significance, dimensions, development, and application of intercultural competence as a vital skill for global leadership. 1. Understanding intercultural competence. 1.1 Definition. Intercultural competence refers to the capacity to communicate effectively, behave appropriately, and build meaningful relationships with individuals from different cultural contexts. It goes beyond mere tolerance or awareness of diversity. It involves empathy, adaptability, cultural knowledge, and communication skills. 1.2 Importance for global leaders. Global leaders often work with international teams, negotiate cross-border deals, manage multicultural workforces, and navigate different ethical, political, and social norms. Without intercultural competence, these leaders risk misunderstandings, broken trust, and strategic failure. With it, they can harness diversity as a strength and foster inclusive environments that drive innovation and collaboration. 2. Theoretical foundations. 2.1 Deardorff's process model of intercultural competence. Deardorff, 2006, presents a holistic model that includes attitudes, respect, openness, curiosity, knowledge and skills, cultural self-awareness, deep cultural knowledge, empathy, listening, observation, internal outcomes, flexibility, adaptability, ethno-relative perspective, external outcomes, effective and appropriate, communication and behavior in intercultural situations. 2.2 Bennett's developmental model of intercultural sensitivity, DMIS. This model outlines a continuum: denial, inability to recognize cultural difference; defense, cultural differences seen as a threat; minimization, downplaying differences; acceptance, recognizing and appreciating differences; adaptation, changing behavior to communicate across cultures; integration, ability to shift perspectives and function effectively in different cultures. 3. Dimensions of intercultural competence in leadership. 3.1 Cultural Intelligence CQ. Coined by Early and Ang, 2003, cultural intelligence is the ability to relate and work effectively across cultures. It includes 4 dimensions: cognitive CQ, understanding norms, practices, and conventions of other cultures; metacognitive CQ, reflecting on cultural experiences and planning; cross-cultural interactions, motivational CQ, interest and drive to adapt to different cultural contexts; behavioral CQ, ability to act appropriately and flexibly in diverse cultural settings. High CQ enables global leaders to adjust communication styles, avoid stereotyping, and engage diverse teams effectively. 3.2 Emotional intelligence, EQ, and empathy. Empathy, a component of emotional intelligence, is vital in understanding others' feelings and perspectives. Interculturally competent leaders exhibit empathic listening, non-judgmental attitudes, and emotional regulation when facing unfamiliar or challenging interactions. 3.3 Language sensitivity and communication styles. Leaders must navigate high-context culture (c.g., Japan, Korea). Communication is indirect, implicit, relational. Low-context culture (c.g., U.S., Germany). Communication is direct, explicit, task-oriented. Awareness of these styles allows leaders to avoid misinterpretation, show respect, and tailor their approach. 3.4 Tolerance of ambiguity. Effective global leaders embrace uncertainty and cultural ambiguity. They avoid rigid assumptions, remain open to multiple truths, and adjust decision-making strategies in complex environments. 4. Developing intercultural competence. 4.1 Self-awareness and reflection. Intercultural competence begins with understanding one's own cultural values, biases, and communication style. Leaders must reflect on how their background influences perception and behavior. 4.2 Education and training. Cross-cultural workshops, cultural immersion experiences, mentoring by experienced international leaders, intercultural simulation. G. Banga, the cultural detective. These tools help leaders develop perspective-taking and cultural agility. 4.3 Experiential learning. International assignments, study abroad programs, cross-border project teams. Experiences in unfamiliar cultural contexts deepen empathy, resilience, and adaptability. 4.4 Feedback and coaching. Intercultural coaches or mentors provide feedback on communication, conflict resolution, and leadership effectiveness across cultures. 5. Application of intercultural competence in leadership practice. 5.1 Global team management. Diverse teams offer rich perspectives, but also pose challenges in coordination, conflict resolution, and motivation. Interculturally competent leaders create inclusive norms, facilitate cross-cultural dialogue, adjust leadership style to cultural expectations. G. Hierarchical versus egalitarian. 5.2 International negotiation. Successful negotiation requires understanding the cultural values, underlying negotiation styles, such as relationship-oriented culture. G. Latin America trust precedes the deal. Task-oriented culture. G. Northern Europe focus on data and contracts. Leaders must flexibly move between emotional appeals, logical reasoning, and consensus-building strategies. 5.3 Ethical decision-making. Ethical norms vary globally. For example, gift-giving might be viewed as bribery in one culture, but as a sign of respect in another. Interculturally competent leaders uphold integrity while understanding cultural context. Seek alignment between global standards and local customs. Use ethical pluralism to balance conflicting expectations. 5.4 Crisis and conflict management. Conflicts in multicultural environments may arise from misunderstandings or clashing values. Effective leaders address cultural roots of the conflict, mediate with sensitivity and impartiality, reframe issues to align with shared goals. 6. Challenges to developing intercultural competence. 6.1 Ethnocentrism. The belief in the superiority of one's culture hinders openness and learning. Leaders must actively challenge such assumptions. 6.2 Stereotyping. Oversimplified views of cultures can lead to misjudgment. Intercultural competence requires leaders to treat individuals as unique while acknowledging cultural influences. 6.3 Cognitive overload. Processing multiple cultural cues simultaneously can lead to fatigue or decision paralysis. Training and experience improve cognitive resilience. 6.4 Organizational resistance. Some institutions undervalue intercultural training. Leaders must advocate for diversity as a strategic asset, not a compliance issue. 7. Case examples of intercultural competence in action. 7.1 Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO. Nadella is recognized for fostering a culture of empathy and openness at Microsoft. As an Indian-American leader managing a global enterprise, he emphasizes inclusive dialogue, cross-cultural innovation, and emotional intelligence. 7.2 Paul Polman, former Unilever CEO. Polman led Unilever's global sustainability agenda while operating across diverse markets. He valued stakeholder engagement, local responsiveness, and ethical globalization. 7.3 Jacinda Ardern, former NZ Prime Minister. In managing multicultural crises like the Christchurch attack, Ardern demonstrated cultural humility, inclusive rhetoric, and emotional resonance that transcended national boundaries. 8. Measuring intercultural competence. 8.1 Intercultural Development Inventory IDI assesses a person's developmental stage on the intercultural sensitivity spectrum. From denial to adaptation. 8.2 Cultural Intelligence Scale CQS measures 4 dimensions of cultural intelligence: cognitive, metacognitive, motivational, behavioral. 8.3 Behavioral Assessments. Observation of real-life or simulated interactions is used to evaluate a leader's intercultural performance. Conclusion: intercultural competence is not a static trait, but a dynamic, learnable, and essential leadership capability in the 21st century global environment. It empowers leaders to move beyond awareness into action, to bridge differences, build trust, and foster innovation across boundaries. As organizations become more diverse and interconnected, global leaders must invest in developing this core competency, not only for their own success, but for the prosperity of the teams, organizations, and societies they serve.